Oh, look at that. That was so silly. My mic was muted. The mic was muted on YouTube, LinkedIn, and the other places. Okay, excellent. Let's go over our intro one more time. One more time. This time, two times a charm. Excellent.
You
My name
think
is
so?
Abraham. What you say?
I said you think so.
I think so. My name is Abraham Walker with Ask A Walker. You know, the Virginia real estate agent, and I'm accompanied by my co-host,
Crystal Walker.
and we make up the Ask A Walker real estate team. So we do live streams every. I keep on saying every. I want to say every because we just
Every
stopped doing every.
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, we're
Right.
going to do a live stream answering your real estate questions at 10 a.m. You'll catch our morning show, and then we'll repeat again at 8 p.m. That same day.
Yep. So Monday through Thursday,
8 p.m. and 10 a.m. And you can find us on YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, and also you can see Abraham here on the TikTok, but you will not see me, but hopefully you can hear me.
Right. You can hear the misses over here until TikTok gives us the opportunity or capabilities for us to use our studio cameras. We'll just have to use our phone at this time. So yeah, so like I was mentioning, there is a link in the description to the Perfect Home Questionnaire. If you're ready to start your real estate journey, click on that link and schedule a time to talk to us online via Zoom. We'll answer any and all of your real estate questions.
And if you're watching from TikTok, you can find that link in the Abraham's bio on the business page.
I,
Right?
yes, it's in the bio. The link is in the bio.
Excellent.
Perfect, perfect. Okay, so let's jump into the conversation. So what are assessments? Do all townhouses, condos, and co-ops have them? This is really going to be a conversation about homeowners association dues and fees, also condo fees, dues. They have different names depending on where you look online.
Absolutely. So in this book, they're calling them assessments, but essentially she's talking about HOA and condo fees. And for most homeowners in Northern Virginia, you can expect to pay an HOA fee or a condo fee because in 2022, 74% of all homes that sold in Northern Virginia were a part of an association.
When you're thinking about an association, you want to consider the fact that associations are attractive to local governments because the association kind of takes on some of the responsibilities that the government would take on, like snow removal, trash removal. When you're not in the HOA, that fee or service is managed by the local government. And the way developers get their deals through the pipeline is by making these agreements with the local government that says, hey, look, we will take on this item for you if you approve the deal, and this is why you see such a high concentration of planned communities, HOAs, condominium associations, and the such.
Yes. And so, as I said, we do have a large percentage of homes in Northern Virginia that are a part of these associations. And that's going to range for every property type. It's going to go from condos to townhouses, co ops, and single family homes. Now, if you're in a community that is exclusively single family homes, you're probably looking at a slightly lower HOA because those typically only pay quarterly or annual dues. And typically, when you're in a single family only association, you're not going to have as many amenities as a mixed community, as a community that does have a combination of townhouses and condos. We live in a rather large HOA homeowners association. We live in Kingstowne, and so within Kingstowne, we have a lot of amenities. So we have two pools, two fitness centers, tennis courts, volleyball courts, a host of workout or exercise classes. We have over 24 playgrounds in the area, along with miles and miles of trails. So all of that is all the upkeep for those things are managed by the association.
When you think about an association and you're coming up with the fee that you pay, it is the percentage of ownership you have in the association. So one way to look at it is that all of these amenities are considered common ownership between you and everyone else in the association. The way they come up with your particular fee is usually a square footage. Sometimes they even use the size of your lot. It just depends on what the bylaws say. So let's give like a fictitious example where there's 100 units, they're all the same size. Your unit, your percentage of ownership of the common area is going to be 1%. So that means that you get 1% of the fees and the expenses associated with HOA fees.
Now, depending on your association size, as I said, there are going to be a number of things those fees cover, but they don't just cover amenities. They also cover things, as Abraham alluded to earlier, snow removal, trash removal. But they also cover different things, like, I'm sorry, I'm drawing a blank there.
The lawn maintenance, there's
The lawn maintenance of the common, yes, the common area. So our association, with its vast size, there's a lot of, grass, but also they cover all the planting and planning for the area. We
right.
have our roads repaved quite often in our community.
Right, which could be seen as an expense that's not necessary, but if you like to have smooth roads, which is really like an experience of the community,
Mhm.
then it's just a byproduct of your HOA. In a condominium association, one thing to consider that's quote unquote common area is going to be like the carpet that you walk on, the entryway, the mail room, the movie theater,
The
the
lobby,
rooftop
even.
deck,
Mhm.
the library. All of these things are going to be percentage ownership that you actually have a responsibility in paying for.
Yeah, so another fee that may be unexpected when living in a HOA or a condominium is going to be when there are special assessments. So sometimes there are going to be things that exceed the annual budget that needs to be taken care of. That could be an unexpected repair when you're in a condo, perhaps the roofs need to be replaced or the windows, and it's going to cost more than was budgeted for that year, so there may be a special assessment. On occasion, there is a lawsuit levied against the association for one reason or another, and as owners of the association, all of the homeowners are responsible for their share of that lawsuit. And so sometimes those assessments can last for just a few months and it'd be a few $100s. And there are other times when they'll last for several years and be thousands of dollars.
Yes. So think of a special assessment like a cash call if you're an investor, where the company, which is what you own a percentage of this company, is now cash strapped. And so they have to go to the owners and find this money somehow. This can be seen as a negative, and often it is seen as a negative. This information is going to be readily available in the minutes of the association, and it's imperative that you review the documents when you're going through your review period.
Yes. So what Abraham is speaking about as far as the review period is when you're buying a home that's a part of an association in the state of Virginia, you are required to receive the resale disclosure packet if you're buying a home that's in a HOA or a condo association. When you receive those documents, you're going to have 3 days to review them and void the contract for any reason. And it is so important that you review those documents. Many times we have buyers, all they want to know is, does the house have any violations? Are there any HOA violations? But the packet is rather large and there's going to be a lot of very important information within that packet. And when I say large, I mean hundreds of pages, usually 200 to 400 pages worth of documents. But it has everything you need to know about the association. They're going to have the financials, so you'll be able to take a look at the budget, the master insurance plan. They're going to have all the rules and regulations, the bylaws, and as I said, the HOA violations if there are any. But you want to make sure you read through all of that information because it's going to have things as far as where you can park versus where you can't. If you're buying into a condo association, what type of pets are allowed? Are there pet restrictions? Are there breed restrictions? Is there a cap on the number of pets you can have? So all of these things are going to be within those documents. And if you let that 3 day period expire, then you no longer have the opportunity to walk away. So if you get to the closing table and you find out that it turns out that your breed of dog is too large, you're just out of luck.
That's true. That's true. Now, when it comes to your fees, if you are late on your fees, then the association could foreclose on your property. Now, this is highly unlikely given the fact that most fees are not substantial, but you got to remember that the fees are paid by all of the other owners. So there isn't like this huge nest egg for people who don't pay their bills. So the if you don't pay your bills, that money comes from somewhere, so just keep that in mind, that paying your HOA fees is very important, and pay them on time because there will be most likely a late fee levied
Hmm.
against you, and those late fees can add up. Oftentimes, so we're in Kingstowne, when an owner doesn't pay their HOA dues, then they usually lose access to the fitness facility and the swimming pool.
Mhm.
Now, that's not that big of a deal for a lot of people because they don't use those services on a regular basis, but those fees will come to bite you in the end when you try to sell your property because all of those fees are going to be due plus interest.
Yes. And speaking of cons, we have a list of actually some pros and cons of living in an association. And so, since he brought up the first con, we also want to talk about one of the things that I think is people's biggest gripe when it comes to association, which is going to be architectural review. So, anytime you want to make any type of change to your home on the exterior, you're going to have to submit an application for approval with your association. And that can be anything from installing new windows to staining your deck. We have a client right now whose property is on the market, and we ordered the HOA docs, and we found out that she stained her deck an inappropriate color, an unapproved color. And so she had to restain the deck before settlement in order to provide the buyer with a home that was violation free. So, like I said, it could be small things like staining the deck, changing out the lamp post, even just the light in front of your home has to be a certain color. We once had a rogue neighbor who put a blue light bulb on their front porch, and that was not allowed, right? So there are going to be some things about owning a home, just some restrictions about owning a home within an association. You have to abide by their guidelines.
Another pro is that there are community events, and then there's also this community feel that comes with living in a larger association. So this isn't going to be relative for the smaller associations because smaller associations really are just like you all are pooling your money together to manage the expenses of the road, the trash removal, snow removal. But in a larger association like Kingstowne, like Cameron Station, Reston, Franklin Farm, those types of areas, you get this sense of I belong to this neighborhood or this hood. You almost have like this clique, and you even hear people when they're talking about their communities outside of the area. They have this sense of pride tied to ownership. So that's another reason why I think homeowners association, especially in Northern Virginia, because Northern Virginia doesn't have an identity outside of we're a giant suburb that services the DC metro area.
Mhm.
Unless you're in Arlington. Arlington and City of Alexandria doesn't have those same problems because they have more history tied to them. And I think that those residents that live there are much more attached to their location. But then when you get into like Fairfax County, Prince William County, Loudoun County, Stafford County, you kind of lose that sense of pride, sense of ownership, sense of I own this part of the area.
Well, another positive is also going to be that when you're a part of association or homes that are a part of an association typically do better as far as maintaining property values. And that's largely tied to the fact that because of those rules and regulations, there's this expectation that the lawns will be well maintained, that the home will be pressure washed, and that there's just this cohesion of how the neighborhood should look. And it eases the burden on homeowners from having to talk to their neighbors about, their unkept grass or about the fact that there are, how many cars parked in front of the house. So for that reason, because there's this expectation of, minimum maintenance when you're dealing with an association, you're able to keep the property values a little higher. At the same time, I want to go back to another con, which is that if you do not maintain the home, there will be fines and violations if you do not take care of those violations in a timely manner. So if you have slacked on pressure washing your house, or if you have not cut your grass over the spring and summertime, they will let you know, and they give you usually 30 days or so to come into compliance. But if not, then you will be assessed a fine. And as Abraham said, those fines can increase over time. You'll get penalties and late fees. So
I also want to just make a note here. When you're buying a home, there is like this unspoken rule that you will maintain your property and your neighbors will maintain their properties because you all have a vested interest in the community looking a certain way so that you can extract your value out of the property in the future, right? When you think about curb appeal, too often curb appeal is this idea that people believe is just tied to a singular property. So if I get my grass together, if I paint the front of my house, if I make sure my shutters are all in good condition, then I have no problems. That's just not the case. When buyers roll through a neighborhood, they are taking in and judging everyone's home as a group, right? So there's almost like this other category as far as how does the neighborhood look, what is the feel and character of the neighborhood that you're kind of participating in when you purchase a property. This is also another reason why a lot of people dislike having renters in their community, because people have this notion that renters do not have the same pride of ownership as a homeowner will have. This isn't to say that that is true, but there is some connection to a homeowner has this future goal of extracting some type of equity out of the property. So they're much more vested in the process of maintaining the community feel.
Excellent. Well, that's, I think, all we have for HOAs.
Let me just double check on the list. Blah, blah, blah. We talked about that. We talked about that. Excellent. Excellent. Good. That is it. So let me know your questions down below. Also, let me know where you're watching us from. Like we said earlier, we're live on TikTok, YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, and on Twitter somehow. And if you have any questions about the home buying process, home selling process, or investing in real estate, post those questions down below. We will answer those in between segments and at the end. So let's clear out the questions right now. But before we do, I just want to remind you that there is a link in the description to the Perfect Home questionnaire. Fill out that form and we will schedule a time to meet online via Zoom to answer any and all of your questions about real estate. All right, so we have a question here on TikTok. Hold on, what is that? That's all right. Okay, excellent. So we have a question on TikTok. Do you have any recommendations for real estate agent classes? Great question. I do not. I've been licensed for, it'll be 10 years in Virginia. And I took my classes through, I don't even know who I took them through because
Mosley.
No, it couldn't have been Mosley because I took them in New Orleans.
Oh, I took my classes through
Yeah,
Mosley.
so Crystal took her
Okay.
classes through Mosley, and Mosley was a good course.
Yeah,
That's
I
actually,
did it online though.
okay.
So many real estate offices actually will offer the class through Mosley at several brokerages throughout the area. I'm not sure if our brokerage does anymore though.
They do.
do?
It's a new vendor, but Mosley is still in business. So I know a lot of people who got licensed through Mosley because I used to run a real estate office, and I would just recommend using Mosley. They have an online course and they have local classes that you can take. If you're not the online class type of person, then go in person. I would recommend, I guess this is going to sound ageist, but I just want to let you know, it seems like the older population has more challenges with online classes. So I wouldn't waste your money going online. I would actually start with the local class, even though it's going to be some schedule conflicts, right? Because some of the classes are going to be overnight. I mean, not overnight.
They're usually in the evening.
They're usually in the evening, or they have some weekend classes, but not that many. Okay. So Mosley is my recommendation for that. Continue posting your questions down below, and we will clear these out before we get into our next segment. All right, so we have another question here. What's your thoughts on new construction properties? I see there are many builders and buy down programs. My thoughts on new construction properties, it depends on your price range, really. Your price range is going to dictate how close you can get into to have a reasonable commute, because most new construction properties in Northern Virginia are really on the outskirts of the region. So we're talking about Loudoun County, Prince William County, and really in Prince William County, there's more new construction off of 66 versus 95. The largest development off of 95 is going to be Potomac Shores. You really have to go into Stafford County to find a wider option or variety of new construction properties. And I think that they're fine. I am anti-commute. So I'm always trying to minimize my commute, minimize my time on the road. So that means that in like closer to the Beltway, there's not as many new construction options. There's a large development in Falls Church right now. There are just a few single family homes left in Fairfax
There are a couple going up in Alexandria as well. You have North Hill in Alexandria, Fairfax County, and then you also have that new Tri-Point
Right.
off of Etzel that's going to be in a city of Alexandria.
Right.
So there
Yes.
are a few options. One of the things we were actually talking about earlier today is if you're going to look at new construction, it's really important to look at the surrounding area to see what these surrounding neighborhoods look like. Because many times with new construction, you're going to find that with some of these smaller new developments, they're really just going to be a few properties, for lack of a better word, just thrown up into like a little bit of land they were able to procure, right? So it really depends on the size of the community and what's surrounding it. That's going to play a large part in not only how much value it brings to you, but also its resale value in the future.
Yes. I will say though, if you have a large family or if you desire to have two kitchens, then there really aren't many older homes that have the two kitchen models, right?
Mhm.
And so those two kitchen homes there's one place in Herndon, and then the other places are really going to be in Loudoun County.
Mm.
So
And
if
by two kitchens, you mean the prep kitchen?
yeah, the prep
Okay.
kitchen. Yeah. So there's another place in McLean, well, really Great Falls called Arden, but Arden is so expensive that it really makes sense to mention it because
It's expensive, and also there's so few homes there.
right. There's also there's a bidding war for every property that Arden released, even though they kind of start in like the
2
2.5
million,
millions.
yeah.
So yeah, so I like new construction as far as what's offered to you. I like the fact that you get to pick out what you can do to the property. You can make you can customize it. I dislike the location of a lot of new construction because it's so far away, and that is really going to change your lifestyle, right? Your quality of life is usually tied to like what you do on the weekend, not necessarily your weekdays. Your weekdays are usually dedicated to work, and if you're working and you have a longer commute, then that means that you're a little bit more tired. That kind of wears you out during the weekend, and so you're kind of skeptical about really going to explore the different the things that really make this place expensive.
Yeah. Well, now what I will say is it
What will you
can
say?
make your
What do you say?
it can make your commute longer, but that's assuming that you work in DC proper or
Right.
that you work, in Arlington. However, if you are working in Reston or you work in Loudoun, Dulles Tech Corridor, well, then in that case, there are so many options in
Right.
Loudoun that your commute won't be so bad. So I really do think so. I think that when you're talking, you're assuming that everyone's commute is going into DC.
Right. Or the other
Uh,
Pentagons.
or the Pentagon.
Yes.
And so we also have to take into consideration Tyson's, Reston, Dulles Tech Corridor, Loudoun. So if you're anywhere out that way, anywhere out to the west, then perhaps those places are viable. I mean, new construction is more viable.
Right. That makes sense. That's a good caveat there. We're
I do what
used
I can.
Yeah, we're used to a lot more people just working at the larger employment bases, and those are usually going to be located in Arlington, in DC proper. But there is, like Crystal mentioned, Tyson's, Reston, Dulles Tech Corridor. There's even like a couple outfits in the Chantilly area or even Manassas. Gainesville has a couple employment bases as well. So good point. Good point. All right. So we have somebody watching from Reston. Hello.
Good evening.
I'm pretty sure the Reston people are happy to have more stops along the Silver Line. Silver Line just opened up. Some more stops. Excellent. So good. So we've answered all the questions. So again, the way our show works, we have some prepared content, and then we stop, answer your questions, and then we have some more prepared content. Then we stop, answer your questions, and then we talk a little, answer some more questions. So get those questions ready for us. We are live Monday through Thursday, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time and 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So we do a morning show and a night show. If you know of anybody that is looking to buy a home, sell a home, and invest in real estate, and they have some questions, tell them about our show. Let them know that we are here to help, and then they can just answer their question and get their answer in real time. I've been in business for 14 years, and we love making this educational type content. So we would love to have some more questions on the channel.
Yes, and we have an entire library of content on our YouTube channel, Where to Live in Northern Virginia. So in addition to these live streams, we do have lots of videos answering questions about different areas throughout Northern Virginia, questions about PCS to the area, pros and cons of living in all the different parts of Northern Virginia, the cost of living. So be sure to check out that as well.
We also have the largest collection of new construction property tours than any of our competition. So no one else has as many new construction property tours. So if you don't want to waste your time, go and drive out to these properties to see the model homes. We have most of them on our channel.
That's true. We have pretty much every new construction in Prince William, Loudoun, Arlington, Fairfax. You have to get the rest of Stafford, but we have a pretty extensive library of new construction on the channel.
That is true. Okay, so our next topic is going to be 100 questions every seller should ask. This is a new segment that we're adding to the channel because we want to appeal to people that are buying properties and selling properties. We also know that a lot of buyers watch our channel, and it's important for buyers to understand what sellers are thinking about, what they're going through, so that you can structure offers that will win, structure offers that make sense. And you will, in the future, you'll be a seller too. So if you have this seller hat going into the property when you buy, then maybe we can stop people from buying properties on main roads. Yeah. I really don't understand. I try to talk clients out of buying properties on main roads, because you buy a property on the main road, then that is a property that's seen as less desirable. And so if you have this property that's seen as less desirable, then it will be less desirable in the future when you need to get your money out. And oftentimes you will see it's hard to, you see a lot of properties that are quote unquote less desirable than their counterparts come on the market when we have hot markets. Yes. Hot markets are when people get out of these
a house
homes
that backs up to the train, a house that backs up to the Parkway. Because if you buy a house that backs up to the Parkway, that means you have to sell a house that backs up to the Parkway. Right.
Which seems simple enough, but we just try to make sure that our clients are in a good position to get out of the property in the event that they do. And also we want them to have some good appreciation as well.
Yes. So what we're going to talk about now is the reasons, are 8 of the main reasons we see sellers decide that they need to get out of a property.
Okay, so the first one is, and this is in no particular order, this is just a list that we put together. The first one is that people, they get married, or they're choosing a significant other, and that triggers them thinking, oh my goodness, I have more stuff I need to store along with this person.
A whole nother body, right?
Yes, a whole nother body.
Yes. So oftentimes when people get married, they decide to sell their property because they're in their home. You know, I am in my house that I purchased before I met my husband. And so we want to get a house that is ours. So I already had my house. And oftentimes couples want to get a home that can be considered theirs together. It's their family home. And so marriage is one of the things that we frequently see that is a trigger to make someone move.
Used to do bridal shows, and I didn't know that this is how it works. You would think that people would buy houses before you would think they would buy property after they get married, but really most people buy properties actually before they get married, which is something I thought was strange.
Yes. So yes, we used to do bridal shows, and we would often talk to the brides and grooms, and they would be looking for homes. They're like, oh, we're getting married next year, so we want to look for a house now, because they already wanted to be settled in their homes when they return back from, you know, their honeymoon, and immediately just start their lives in what they consider to be their home.
Yep. The next one is number 2 is going to be divorce. So when a divorce occurs, there's usually this you have these memories of this other person that you're trying to get out of your life now, and the house kind of reminds you of that person. Excuse me. So a lot of people will sell their homes just to kind of get like a clean start, a fresh start.
Well, not only that, but sometimes when you're getting divorced, you also have to think about the finances, right? So if you're going from a 2-income household to 1-income household, maybe you can't afford to stay in that home anymore. Or it could just be that, you know, you can't buy that other person out. So a divorce is another reason we sometimes see people list their homes.
Right. It's usually tied to the fact that there's the equity in the property is like one of the largest assets of the 2 individuals. And so if you can't buy that person out, then you have to sell to get to split up the equity.
Yeah. So next up, we have children, and children can cause you to sell your home for another reason. I mean, for a number of reasons. It could be that you're having a child, and so you feel like you need more space as your family grows. You feel that, the smaller home you initially started out with is not enough for your growing family. Abraham always likes to point out that people like to move as their kids get older. So they feel that they want to get a larger house. Kids need grass, is what people say. They want a yard for their kids to play in. Initially, a townhouse might have been fine, but now they want a single family home with a backyard so that the kids can have grass that they'll never play in.
That's true. That's true. A lot of these backyards are not being used at all, but people make these purchases because old people like ourselves, we grew up at a time when kids went outside and they didn't have video games with great graphics. They didn't have computers. They didn't have the high-speed internet. So that's understandable. People are still buying as if they're their parents, which is okay.
And then we have empty nesters. We see this all the time. As soon as kids are leaving the nest, whether it's kids graduating high school or college, we see an influx of people selling their home as soon as their youngest child graduates from school. In our neighborhood in particular, we'll see a sign up in April or May letting us know that they have a high school graduate, and then the very next month there's a yard sign that says the house is on the market.
Yes, and that's usually tied to the fact that their expenses are shifting. So some parents will support their kids through college and their homes are now larger than they need. So they go and decrease the size of their homes to then kind of shift their expenses into college funds.
Yeah.
The next thing is we see people moving, this is still kid related, which is that they start to focus on putting their kids into better school systems or better, higher rated schools. Usually this move occurs when the kid is in elementary school, because a lot of elementary schools are going to have higher ratings. But then as you go into a middle school or a high school, the size of those schools draw in from all types of different areas, all types of different neighborhoods. And then those ratings start to decrease. And so what parents will do, especially if they're on the rating hunt, they will move around in the fourth, fifth, not really sixth grade, because usually at sixth grade, they're kind of locked in. This is it. But really around fourth and fifth grade, you'll see parents start to make that move to either go into, so we live in Kingstowne, so we have a lot of townhouses. They'll either go into a townhouse in a higher rated school area, or they'll make that bump up into a single family home. Not necessarily a large single family home, but they'll go from a $600,000 townhouse to like a $800,000 or $900,000 single family home. Next up is income, right? So when your income increases, you got a promotion, you got a raise, or maybe you did the smart thing and you switch jobs on a regular basis to increase your income. This will cause a lot of people to make a move as far as upgrading their lifestyles, right? Now, with Northern Virginia, the way it works is that the southern part of the county is going to be the more affordable part, and then as you move up north to the east, right? As you move north to the east, you're going to find that the properties are going to start to increase in values, and also the jobs of the individuals who live in those areas are going to change as well. And so as we see people kind of move up the ranks in their company, we see them either inching closer to the northeastern part, or they just move
within their community. So a lot of times you'll see, particularly in our area, you may see someone move through all the different property types. So you have people who may have started out in a condo, move into a townhome within our same subdivision, and ultimately into a large single family home as they progress through their careers. Now, conversely, another reason we see people list their homes for sale is because their income has decreased, whether they've been laid off or decided to take a step back from work. We often see people list their homes because they can no longer afford their mortgage at their current pay rate. And then finally, we have those who are inching towards retirement.
Right.
And they will decide to sell their home many times. So we see people leave the area altogether as they retire, just because Northern Virginia is a rather expensive area to live.
Right. So that's why it's important. And we kind of promote on our channel that you buy a house by the time you're 35 and keep that property. So then that way, once you're 65, you already have a house paid free and clear, and you get to stay in Northern Virginia and live out the rest of your days in your property. We also see when we see people retiring, they will start to downsize. And so we see people either move from a single family home to a townhouse, or they move from a single family home or a townhouse into a one level condo. A lot of the high rise condos in Northern Virginia come with, well, all of the high rise and mid rise condominium developments come with elevators. And then that allows the individual to age in place. A lot of our condos that are high rises, mid rises are in densely populated areas. So you'll be able to go to your doctor of choice. You'll also be able to have like a higher quality of life, being close to a lot of creature comforts as well.
Yeah, so that actually brings us to our next reason, which is an aging parent. Or caring for a disabled loved one. So, if you are caring for an aging parent or even just aging yourself, a lot of times people will sell because they want the option to age in place or to have one level living. North Virginia is full of homes with, 2 to 3 stories, sometimes even four. So, that's a lot of stairs. So, if you're caring for an aging parent or even aging yourself, then perhaps you want to, decrease the number of stairs that you have to go up and down on a regular basis.
In addition to aging parents, we also have when you have like a disabled loved one or maybe a friend, and you become like the caretaker for this individual, shifting the type of home that you're in to accommodate your ability to care for this individual is also important.
Mhm.
Then we have relocation. So because we have such a large military presence here with the number of military bases, we have a lot of people who are moving in and out of the area tied to the military. And we have so many Fortune 500 companies that people are kind of being relocated from across the country to either take management positions or executive positions in this market. So we have a lot of people who are selling to administer, to leave, go back home after
Mhm.
they have feel, been here for 5, 7, 10 years or
Yeah,
whatever.
or if they are being reassigned, as you said, if people are PCSing to other areas, many times they'll sell their home because they don't know if they'll be stationed here again. This is a high cost of living area. So a lot of times our homes are rather pricey. So a lot of times, a lot of their VA eligibility is tied to the home here in Virginia. And if they're interested in purchasing somewhere at their next post, they'll need to get out of the house here in Virginia so they're able to use their VA benefits for their next purchase.
The next item, which is number 7, is going to be inheritance. So your uncle Scrooge passed away, and now you have this large inheritance, and that causes you to want to purchase a property or sell your existing property, right? We've had a couple clients who have used inheritance to buy larger properties, and that's just something to note. So, especially with the baby boomers going through their transition
Mhm.
over this next decade, we're going to see a lot of people kind of making purchases tied to inheritance.
Well, not only that, but you may also inherit a house that and you have no desire to become a landlord. You don't want to manage a property. And so many times if you inherit a property, you may decide that, you don't want to manage this estate. And so you will sell that home versus holding on to it.
All right, our last one, this is number 8, is when there's a hot market, we see a lot of transactions that I really call recreational transactions. That's when somebody is just playing the market. Your house has increased $100,000, $200,000, and now you are like, you know what? Let me get this money off the table. And the problem with the challenge that comes with home ownership is that properties are not liquid. So the equity that you have is really just on paper. And if the market tanks or a recession hits and the market slows down, it may be challenging for you to get that money out of the property. So we have seen, especially in these last 2 years, we saw a lot of people just do transactions where they didn't have to move out of the area. There wasn't a need to buy a bigger property. There was no need associated to their moving. It's just that the market was hot. And so then people took their winnings off of the table.
Absolutely. We had a client who purchased a home in Port Potomac, and the seller was just selling his house because the market was hot. And he was like, I'm just going to rent for another 2 years until my kid graduates from high school
Right.
because he saw an opportunity and he knew, he was like, this won't last always. So I'm
Right.
just going to strike while the iron is hot.
Right. So we may see those transactions come back this spring season because we are starting to see prices uptick again. But that's just another reason why people sell. When you're buying a home, the process is emotional, right? When you're selling a home, the process is equally as emotional because you have already created history, you've created memories in this property, and depending on how long you've been in this property, this is home for you. And when you're selling your home, it kind of feels like you're giving away something that's a part of you, which is why we try to get our clients, our seller clients, to look at their homes like a piece of property,
Mhm.
which is
Yes,
challenging.
it is challenging. And so one of the things that we do when we're talking to a seller is once we've listed the home, it is no longer you're no longer a homeowner. We no longer call the property your house. In every communication with us, when we talk to you about it, we're going to talk to you about the property. In every email communication from me, I'm going to specifically say the property. You'll never hear us call it the house or your home. And that's because you have to divorce yourself from the fact that this is your property or this is your home and just see it as what it is, which is an asset that you are trying to offload.
And when you're selling the asset, you want to get the highest bang for your buck. You also want to position it to where buyers or the consumers are having a pleasant experience walking through your property, right? So
Mhm.
we can automatically tell when we go into a property and this homeowner hasn't made that transition to selling a property or an asset, because they'll have a lot of family photos still on the wall. They'll have a lot of signs that are kind of passive aggressive about don't go in here, don't do this, take your shoes off, this and that. They're not really making the property welcoming to
Mhm.
the individuals who are looking at it. And that can negatively affect your bottom line. Now, the next reason or the next thing you want to consider when you're thinking about like selling your home is, can you sell tied to the finances? The biggest expense of selling a property is the real estate commission. The next expense is going to be the closing costs.
Mhm.
If you don't have enough equity in your property, then selling your property may be challenging for you just because of the financial piece of it.
Which is again why we saw so many people who have been waiting, possibly waiting years to sell their property, sell in a hot market. Because when you're in an up market like we've been for the last 2 years, they know that they can possibly get out of this property that they have been perhaps stuck in for some period of time.
That is true. That is true. So that is question number one. Am I ready to sell? And like I mentioned already, we are covering 100 questions every seller should ask. That was question number one. All right. So now get those questions ready for us. Let us know where you're watching the show from. We have one more segment to make it through, and then we'll call it a night. But before we get into that segment and your questions, just know there is a link in the description to the Perfect Home Questionnaire. Fill out that form, and we will schedule a time to meet online via Zoom to answer any and all of your questions. So fill out that form. There is the link on TikTok is in our bio in the event that you're looking for it. Now, let's see. Let's see if we have any questions here. Okay, no questions. Let us know. Let us know. Banner. All right.
Okay, very good.
All right, all right, all right. Let's get into our talk about let's talk about the market. So the numbers are out for January 2023, and we're going to look at Northern Virginia. So Northern Virginia, for the purpose of this talk, is going to contain Fairfax County, Arlington County, Alexandria City, Loudoun County, Prince William County, and Stafford County. I know there's a debate on one of our TikTok videos about, well, Abraham, isn't Frederick County, Virginia, considered Northern Virginia? No. And
No.
the reason why is that Northern Virginia services the DC metro area, specifically the core, which is going to be like the Arlington area, the DC proper area. So as you move further and further out, there becomes a less percentage of individuals who live in those areas are actually going to work in the quote unquote the city.
Absolutely. I mean, there are even parts of Loudoun County that we want to count Loudoun County as a whole, but
Right.
there are large parts of Loudoun County that we wouldn't even really consider Northern Virginia.
Right. Because the people aren't really going to make a 2-hour commute into the city.
Mhm.
Now, will people do it?
Will
Yeah.
someone do it?
Yes.
Has
Yeah.
someone done it? Yes.
Yes.
And we brought this up because we put up a video up a few days ago and it was about up and coming suburbs in Northern Virginia. And someone asked about Frederick County, and we're like, that's not Northern Virginia. That's like if someone asked about Richmond.
Right. So you just gotta, I mean, again, this is what you call Northern Virginia really doesn't matter, because if you find a home, a lot of people are looking at Frederick County because it's more affordable.
Mhm,
Now, if you say to yourself, Abraham, I would like something affordable, and I don't mind how far the drive is.
mhm. I live in West Virginia.
Right. Yeah. So then, and they have people that commute in from West Virginia to the DC metro area.
Mhm.
So again, Northern Virginia for us, Fairfax County, Arlington County, Alexandria City, Loudoun County, Prince William, and Stafford County. All right, so we're going to cover the closed sales, average sales price, average days on market, percentage of units selling over asking price, and average price over asking price. So number four and five, I just kind of want to give you some background as to why we cover those items. So percentage of units selling over asking price. This is a number we track because in a fast moving market, we start to see patterns. One of the patterns we see is that people are paying over and above the asking price. When you're targeting a specific area, and if that area is more desirable, then you want to know what is the likelihood of the offer that you're making is going to be over the asking price.
Mhm.
It doesn't make sense to just say to yourself, and we've had clients who do this, oh, I'm gonna give the sellers what they asked for.
Exactly. The house was on the market for 725. I'm offering 725.
I should get it.
Yes, right. So we saw this a lot last year. And so one of the things that we had to point out every time we would present comps to our buyers was, okay, this is the list price. Now let's take a look at the percentage over sales price or over list price for the most recent transactions in the neighborhood. Because oftentimes buyers assume, okay, well, if I say I'm going to give them X and they ask for X, then I should get the property. And that's just not the case when we're in a hot market.
All right. And then number five is average price over asking. This number gives us a look into what are buyers who are paying over the asking price. What are they paying on average? This number is important because when you go into a competitive offer situation, and you're competing against someone else, you kind of want to have like a baseline of what you will pay that's within reason, and then
Mhm.
make that number like your stopgap, because you don't want to just close your eyes and just say, you know what, Abraham, this is the number, because that could become very costly and you may not be successful, right? Because some people think to themselves, you know what, I'll just pay $5,000 over asking price. If it's $1 million property, then it's likely that it's probably going to go over,
Mhm.
$100,000 over
I mean,
asking price or whatever.
even 500, even at a $500,000 property, 5,000 over asking in a hot market isn't usually not enough.
Right. All right. So closed sales for Northern Virginia, and this is January 2023. Closed sales are down 35%. So there were 1,419 transactions in January. Now, this is down from December 2022. And this 45%, just because this 45% is a little misleading, or at least on this page here, I want to just explain it. This 45% is really what December's numbers look like in reference to the last December. So this isn't December compared to January, because it doesn't really, in my opinion, it doesn't really make sense to track sales from month to month, because real estate is a seasonal product. So different seasons calls for different reactions, and so buyers who are buying in December have different motivations than who are buying in January. So just know that when we look at those December numbers, that is what we're looking at. Anything surprising about this, or do you want
I'm
to talk about?
actually surprised by the drop in sales in January because we really have started to see the market heat up. I'm really eager, I guess, to see what February is going to look like. Because I felt that in January, especially over those last 2 weeks in January, we really started to see more properties going to contract. But I guess we'll see those closings in February
Right, we'll see those closings in February, because
because the properties that we see here that closed in January went under contract in December.
December, right? So these are not January buyers.
Yeah.
Right. All right. So average sales price is up 3%, and this is closed sales price. So this is what closed in January. So that means that this went under contract most likely in December. And so the average sales price in December was $661,000. That's up 3%. That is also up above December 2022, which was 645. And when we're looking at the average sales price number, we're trying to predict whether or not the average sales price will continue to increase as time goes on. And if we see December's numbers were already increased compared to the previous December. And now we see January's numbers increase from January to January. And then we also see a increase from month to month. That means that February is going to be another hot market, right? So you should not expect to get a quote unquote deal. We have a lot of people, even in some of our live streams, who ask us, Abraham, when will I see a 30% decrease in prices, or when will the crash come? The crash will come when everybody stops buying houses.
Yeah.
And since people have not stopped buying houses, there is no reason to assume that a crash will be here.
At all, especially when we're seeing right now, we're seeing the same thing we were seeing around this time last year, which is multiple offers on a property on opening weekend. We are seeing buyers put in offers over list price and their offers not being accepted. And we're seeing properties get full price offers or above full price offers on the first day that they come on the market. So I don't have any hope to see prices decrease anytime in the near future.
Yep. All right, so the third number we're going to look at is average days on market. So this number is up 34%. So now we're looking at 38 days on market. This is for January. So keep in mind, January's closings are from December's under contract. So this is properties that went under contract in December. Some of them would have been November. So February's numbers for this same data will really give us an insight to what we should expect in 2023.
That's true, because in January we did see that days on market were still, 3 to 4 weeks. And I think that what we're seeing now, again, specifically over the last few weeks, is we're seeing a lot of properties go under contract within a few days of coming on the market.
Right. And so even when you look at these December numbers where it says it's 32 days on market, that is from November. So that's November under contract, October under contract. All right, so percentage of units selling over asking price, we were at 24% of all transactions sold over asking price in January for January's closing. That is 19% down. That's decreased by 19% when you compare January 2023 to January 2022. What's insane is that last January, 43% of all properties were selling over the asking price. It was just
it was madness.
Super frustrating for a lot of our buyer clients.
It really was. And frustrating for us too, because it gets disheartening to have to repeatedly tell a buyer that unfortunately this wasn't their week.
Right. I think we're gonna see this number increase as we go into the spring market, because we're already, like I already said, I don't want to sound like a
broken
record, but we're already starting to see a lot more demand.
We are
at this time.
And there was a property you were supposed to show a buyer last Saturday, and on Thursday, when I went to make the appointment, I could barely find a time for you to show it on Saturday because they had so many showings for that Saturday that I had to rearrange our whole day to get time in for that showing. And then Friday evening, the property went under contract and their agent canceled our showing.
Yep.
So we're getting back to that market where we're kind of having to watch as soon as the properties come on the market. We've already started telling our buyers a lot of properties come on the market on Thursdays and Friday. Make sure you're checking your portal first thing Thursday morning, first thing Friday. Let us know if you want to see something so that we can try to get our appointments booked as quickly as possible. So it looks like it's gonna be just like last spring.
All right. So when it comes to average price over asking price, this is what you should expect to pay over the asking price in the event that you are in a competitive offer situation. That number is down by 36%. And the people who did pay over asking price, on average, they paid $14,000 on average, which is down from December's numbers, which was $19,000.
Now, we're going to go into this actually a little bit in more detail tomorrow, but this is going to be hyper specific. So as far as when you're making an offer, you're really going to look at not Northern Virginia, not even if you're looking in Reston, you're not looking in Reston. You're going to be looking at just what's selling in that immediate area to figure out exactly what percentage over asking sellers are getting.
Yep. All right. So I found the property that had the highest price over asking price. So this buyer paid $200,000 over the asking price. It was an all cash offer. The property was located in Alexandria, Fairfax County, in a neighborhood called Rose Hill. So they paid $200,000 over the asking price. Also, this property went under contract in December. So this is a December buyer paying $200,000 over the asking price. This offer was so good that the seller canceled their open house.
Was this new construction or this is resale?
This is a resale, but it's
Oh, wow.
relatively new. It was built in 2018.
Okay.
2018. So this is the second owner of the property, and I'm pretty sure the first owner is very pleased with their investment because they most likely paid like $900,000 or so for that property. All right. So in conclusion, expect to pay expect higher prices in than last year in February, right? So expect for February to be a gangbuster month. Also, you got to watch those days on market. The days on market numbers are not telling a full story because we're starting to see a lot of the older inventory gets sucked up, which means that older inventory, when it closes, is going to give you the illusion that you have a lot of time on your hand. Some of the newer properties, the newer listings, they're selling immediately, which is going to skew a lot of the numbers moving forward. So I know that this is disheartening, but this is go time. This is go time right
Well, it's
now.
disheartening for buyers, but for our sellers who are watching, this is great news because a lot of people speculated that this year's market, we would see a big dip in sales prices, and that just hasn't been the case.
Right. Expect a bidding war for top tier properties. I was out with the client this past weekend and we were looking at a top tier property, and I was explaining to them that if they are not prepared to compete with other more qualified buyers, then you probably want to buy top tier properties on like Tuesday or Wednesdays of the following week. We're going to have a video talking about this because again, we kind of talked about this last year. We had a whole video about this, but I want to reiterate the point, and we've already been on this live stream a little bit too long. So we will talk about that at a later time. So top tier properties, expect the bidding war, come with your checkbook.
And an updated pre-approval letter.
Yep. So that's it. So that's the market. That's what's going on in the market. So those are the numbers. Those are for Northern Virginia. Let us know if you have any questions, anything else you would like us to cover when it comes to the market. I'll most likely put on another one of these sessions for Fairfax County, and so we'll probably do Fairfax County and either Loudoun or Prince William County, because those two counties have the second most transactions out of the region. But definitely,
I think you could do Fairfax, Loudoun, and Prince William since we have Tuesday through Thursday for the rest of the week.
Oh, okay, gotcha. So yeah, so tomorrow we'll do Fairfax County, and then on Wednesday we will do Loudoun, and then on Thursday we'll do Prince William County. We'll look at those same numbers. So you all can see how they differ from one another, because the different regions, you can't perform the same way in all of these areas.
That's true.
All right. So post your questions down below. If you have any questions about buying a home, selling a home, investing in real estate, post those questions down below. Also, let us know where you're watching us from, where you're watching the show from in the comments section. We'll answer any comments or any questions that you may have. We'll stay on until you run out of questions or until I run out of water. If you're ready to start your real estate journey, there is a link in the description to the Perfect Home Questionnaire. Fill out that form and we'll schedule a time to meet online via Zoom to answer any and all of your real estate questions.
And there is a link in the TikTok bio for the Perfect Home Questionnaire as well.
Excellent.
All right. Well, tomorrow we're going to cover question 31 and the 100 questions a first-time home buyer should ask. And we're going to talk about making an offer and how to prepare to make an offer, how to know what to offer. And as far as our seller question, we're going to talk about your timeline and how you figure out how much time you need to list your property versus the time you need to vacate the property. So we're going to talk about those two questions tomorrow at 10 a.m. and again at 8 p.m.
Yeah, so bring your questions. Also invite your friend, make it a party, get some marshmallows.
Marshmallows? Is that what you're having at parties, Abraham?
I don't know.
I
It's
mean,
getting late.
you are getting older. So, I mean, nice little
am.
soft marshmallow. Seems like that
Yes.
might be a good treat for you.
Excellent. Anything surprised you about the numbers?
Not really, because I know, you know what did surprise me, honestly, is the days on market. And you really have to, like you said, take into consideration the fact that we have essentially those stale listings that had been sitting for a while that went under contract in December, because I wasn't expecting the days on market to be so high. But I'm really interested in seeing. I don't even think the February numbers will be I want to see the March numbers, because you have to think in February we're still going to have those older listings that went under contract in January.
Right.
So I think that we won't really see what the days on market really looks like until we get into March.
Gotcha.
Because I just did a CMA for a client last week, and the average days on market was in the 20s, and I was like, that doesn't feel right. But a couple of those properties, one of those properties had been listed in October, and so that just skewed everything,
Makes sense. Post your questions down below. Any questions that you may have, we'll answer. Any real estate question, we'll stay on for a little while. But this is the last call for questions, so we will play this song. Let's get our question song. So if we don't get any questions at the end of this song, then we will say good night, and we will see you all in the morning at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So we go live Monday through Thursday, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and Thursday at
Monday through Thursday at 8 a.m. and again at 10 p.m. We go live on YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, and also TikTok, where you can't see me, but you can hear me.
So this is last call for questions. If we make it to the end of this song, then we will say goodnight. How do you feel about the night show?
I love the night show.
You love the night show?
I love the night show.
What do you love about the night show?
What do I love about the night show?
Versus the morning show? In
the past, you've said that it's more high energy in the morning because it's the start of your day, but I actually feel the opposite. I feel like since I've already gotten everything else I had to do done for the day, I just feel like the energy is higher at the end of the day. So I think I enjoy the night show.
Gotcha. Well,
now, granted, I still have more work to do after this, but still, yes. So I enjoy the night show. What do you think? How do you enjoy having a co-host?
I think it's. I have to get used to not. Like I already have like a lot of thoughts about all this stuff, so I have to get used to making space for you to share your thoughts. So that's a new thing.
Well, that's marriage, but
that is marriage. That's probably why only 50% of them make it.
Well, you've done okay so far.
I have. I am still, I guess, up in the air about the morning show idea, because this is going to be a test run, right? Mm-hmm. So we'll probably do this for like 2 or 3 weeks, see how this goes. But we're kind of covering the same information as we did in the earlier session. Mm-hmm. So what stops, and now I know, unlike the news, because, essentially we're kind of doing like a news model here where the news has a morning show and then a night show. Mm-hmm. I think the difference that the news has is that there isn't like a rebroadcast of the news. So on our YouTube channel, you could just go and watch the daytime show.
That's true. So what I would say to that is I think the evening show is better because we had the morning show.
You think so? How so?
Because I believe that we're able to work out kinks. We're able to, I think that the flow is just a little bit better because we both kind of had our talking points because we knew from this morning what we wanted to go over.
Right.
And then I would say, can't we just remove the morning broadcast and only leave the evening one on the YouTube channel?
Oh, we could.
Because I don't think we should leave both on the channel. I think that we just only leave. We would decide between the better of the two, and we just leave the one up.
So you're saying that we should move the, I guess once we finish the morning show, we just move it to private?
No, I think that once we've done both shows, we would decide which one. Like I would say today, I would say, oh, let's remove the morning show and keep the evening show up.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. Excellent. So good. Hey, thank you all so much for joining us on another live stream. And like we said, we will be back Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time and at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to answer any questions that you may have. Our show is super simple. We cover one question out of 100 questions every first-time home buyer should ask. And then we cover a question out of 100 questions every seller should ask. I want to say first-time seller because I feel like it would be, but it's not. Anyway, so that's what we do. The goal of our show is to give you a local's perspective of this great content. I feel like these books are a great starting point for your journey. I think it doesn't complete the process because real estate is a local sport, and if you don't get the local real estate agents' ideas on what is actually possible, then you may read these books and think, oh, I can ask for closing costs everywhere. And that's just not the case.
Or at any time of year.
Right. So that's it. Thank you all so much for watching. The live show is on our YouTube channel. So if you want to watch the rebroadcast, go to our YouTube channel. And that is it. So thank you all so much again for watching. And I will see you all on tomorrow morning.
Have a good evening.
Peace.